Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's episode 171 of the Audible Farm Podcast, first episode for 2022. And this episode's brought to you by Couchtown Coffee. Couchtown Coffee's roasted right here in Iowa. It's my favorite coffee. I had some this morning. If you guys want to try Couchtown Coffee, I highly recommend it. Go to couchtowncoffee.com, find a coffee you like, have them roast it however you want, and they'll ship it to your house. It's that easy. Some of the freshest coffee you'll ever have shipped directly to your house, and you can tell them how you want it roasted. That's awesome. You know what's even more awesome? They'll give you 20% off. Why? Because Couchtown Coffee is that awesome. Thanks, Couchtown. This episode, I'm sitting down with Ronley King. I've seen Ronley at a couple jam nights recently, and we got to talking, and he says, hey, I got some stuff to promote. And I said, let's do it. So we're talking about Cory Waller and the Wicked Things. We're also talking the Ronley King Blues Band. Saw both of those guys recently. Well, I saw Cory Waller and the Wicked Things kind of from the side. I don't know, I was down the street at Ragbri playing a different show, and they were not too far away, so I got to kind of see them a little bit. I heard plenty of them. They're amazing, absolutely amazing. And then I got to go see the Ronley King Blues Band this year with a stellar lineup. We talk about both those things in the upcoming podcast, as well as some goofy jam night shenanigans, as they always, it always seems to happen. So I hope you guys enjoy this episode. It's a really fun one. It's great to get to sit down and talk with Ronley. It's episode 171 of the Audible Farm Podcast with Ronley King.
It's the Audible Farm Podcast with your host, Peter Stockdale.
So today I'm sitting down with Ronley King, the one, the only Ronley King. It's fun to have seen you out and about lately. It's I've seen you at some jam nights and stuff like that, crossing paths a little bit here and there, and it's something I feel like I saw you back in the day when I first kind of started playing guitar. Before I was playing with anybody locally, I'd seen you around at some jam nights and things, and seen you play live a few times. And now it's, it felt like now that I'm playing music with a couple different bands and stuff, I don't get to see as many shows, so I don't get to see out and about as much. But I did see you a couple weeks back.
Sword, man.
Yeah. I never thought about it, and everybody I talked to always talked about that. And it's like, come on, you got to have free time. And it's like, no, you really kind of don't have too much free time.
Nope.
So speaking of not much free time, you recently joined Cory Waller and the Wicked Things. That's a band that started last year, and you guys have been playing some pretty high-profile shows, it seems.
Yeah, so that was an interesting turn of events. Cory and I had been playing together. Cory Waller, he's been on the podcast before, I believe, too. Mm-hmm. Him and I played together for the better part of like 10, 12 years or so here, off and on. And like with our other main band, J. Clyde. And so, it was just one of those things where, like, as time progresses and people are all kind of going off in their different directions of life, like, we just kind of recognized that, like, it was time to do something just a little bit different. And, that's where this band just kind of was born, kind of out of the not the ashes of J. Clyde, but in the aftermath of J. Clyde. We set out and we found a couple other players to work with. And I tell you what, for the first year out, I was beyond pleased for what we were able to do and accomplish. I remember talking with Cory about it one night, and I was just like, yeah, we're going to start this new band. It's something different. People have no idea what it's about. And we'll be lucky if we get to do, a few shows here and there. But and then we put it out there, and the booking started coming in. So we were pretty lucky.
Yeah, I think some people, when they figured out that it was like, oh, this is, almost an extension of some sort of like J. Clyde, it's like, oh, this is parts of J. Clyde Band, and those guys, you guys played a lot of shows, like same deal, a lot of high profile shows. You'd play those street dances that's like, are there thousands of people here? Because I think there's thousands of people here, like you'd play those big street dances and stuff. So,
sometimes, and then some days there's only like 30 people, and they're all standing around the bar like and they could give a crap less about what you're doing. But
yeah,
you take the good with the bad. So.
Yeah, totally been there, done that. That was like my first experience this year, like playing with Jesse Wilson. Like we played so many shows, and of course they can't all be bangers, but sometimes it's just like this place is packed, and other times it's like there's 6 people here. Like,
yeah,
okay.
And what I don't know, like, so we had a couple of interesting shows this year where, and in general, this has been kind of the story of my year. We've had several shows where there have been a ton of people, and yeah, we had fun. It's hard not to when there's a lot of people there. But like we've also had some shows where the crowd was not that big, but my favorite thing in the world is, and it comes back to, I always say, I would rather play for like 20 people who are listening to you and, are really picking up on what you're doing, like catching the nuance. And then they come up to you after the show and they're like, hey, you guys, we could tell you put some time and effort into this. Like, you guys sound professional, blah, 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 blah. But I would rather play for 20 people who are like that than 1,000 people and like nobody's listening.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
It's so crazy. Like I can get such a high and such a drive off of just a very select few people who, if they're engaged and listening, versus a ton of people any day. So, it's like I say, you take the good with the bad and you just hope you have fun along the way.
Yeah. I mean, that's totally true. I get that. Like it's really crazy to go to shows and have people be like that involved with it, like singing along and stuff like that. Or they're almost singing along so powerfully out in the crowd, like they're the lead singer, It's like, geez, these people are just eating it up or whatever.
Oh yeah.
It's really fun to see other people in the music scene doing that. And you play guitar with Owen and your blues band that you just kind of started back up, and I play with him as well, and we've gone to a lot of shows together and played on shows where there's like 2 people on the bill and stuff, and it's really fun to see Owen. Like he's one of the people that is like, if he likes what's going on, he's up in the front row like yeah, he's really getting into it.
Oh yeah.
But he's also younger. I mean, I'm sure you and I are about the same age, but it's still like,
yep.
He's a younger guy, and I remember being that young and having that much fun. So it's kind of.
Oh, for sure.
I mean,
I gotta be careful when I'm around Owen, and he's getting into this music world and everything. I'm just like, okay, I've went through the whole stage of the party, the debauchery, the everything, and here I am now. Like I feel like I'm a dad almost in the band. Band a lot of times. I'm not that old, but you start playing with someone like Owen, I'm like, okay, I need to make sure I, set a good example and do all this stuff. And at the end of the day, he's like, dude, I'm just here to have a good time. Let's play,
Yeah. And he honestly is. Like, you've been to the jam nights that Owen's been at when, like, as soon as a song ends, he's like playing another song, like already. He's always ready to keep playing.
He's hungry, man. And that's what I like. I look at him. And we'd talk more about the blues band later, but, like as far as Owen goes, I played with his grandfather, Tracy Ernst, the first, when we only did one show, but it was my first band ever that I ever played in. Was like Tracy, Mike Ewing, and a couple other guys from around the Fort Dodge area, and we kind of had a little thing going. And Tracy was like super important to me. Like, the dude let me borrow a guitar when my really crappy Strat broke and I didn't have money to buy another one, and so this dude was just like, so supportive of music and me and too. And so it's like, now it's awesome that I'm getting to play with Owen, and it's like kind of hoping to kind of pass that forward, a little bit. But no, and he's just hungry. You can tell he just wants to get at it and get after it, and I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
Oh yeah, I mean that's one of the testaments to like how good he is, and you can just imagine how good he's gonna be because, like, I mean, I think everyone had that kind of a dream and a drive when they were younger, but not everybody applied it as well as he did. So it's like one of those things I think like, man, I wanted it just as bad as Owen did, but I also like wanted to like hang out with my friends and cruise around and just have a good time when I was younger. And Owen just like plays bass all the time. And
if I play guitar as good as he plays bass at his age, like, I mean, who knows where I stand right now, like,
yeah,
and
exactly.
that's what I hope. I hope for him that, he keeps after it and gets with the gets in with the right people here and there along the way, and you never know, we'll probably see him on a big stage someplace.
Yeah,
someday.
yeah, probably. So, I mean, we're definitely going to come back to like Owen and the Blues Band and things like that. But I do want to like go back to Cory Waller and the Wicked Things. Do you remember what your first show with them was? I mean, it was this. Well, not this year. It was 2021 when it happened.
It was 2021. Yeah. I want to say the first one out of the gate was. Oh gosh. Well, I'm gonna rack my brain. I'll tell you the first one that I remember.
All right.
We did. They were doing a fundraiser out at the fort.
Mm-hmm.
There was an individual there they were raising some money for, and we were part of that. And then that same day we did a double header and went out to. Have you ever heard of Bucks?
Mm-mm.
So there's a guy outside of Manson, Iowa that. They call it Buckville. Basically, the dude set up his backyard as a pseudo campground for people to come bring campers and stay. So like we did that show, and then we went out to Bucks and played a show that night for quite a few people. So that was one of the first few gigs that we done a double header. So
that's
and
wild.
It was kind of what was funny and why I remember that day so well. Is because we played the first show of the day and we sounded like crap. Like it was horrendous. Like in my mind anyway. But then the funny part was we did the first show and then we went and played that night, and it was like in the matter of like 3 hours in between these shows, like something just clicked, and then that night we were set, ready to go, and we've been on fire ever since, like we really haven't had too many what I would call bad shows ever since that one. So yeah, it was just so crazy to me that we played horribly in the afternoon and then at night we were awesome. Like and that's just in my summarization of it anyway. But
I always think that like some of those like afternoon shows and things like that, like it just throws you off a little bit because you're so used to playing at nighttime. I think is like what some of it is. Like nighttime's the right time. You're feeling the mojo. Everyone around you's feeling good, et cetera, et cetera. It's not that they're not feeling good in the afternoon, but those afternoon shows, it's kind of weird. It's like, man, the sun's directly above us. Like this is weird.
They're like we've got like 8 more hours before we need to go to bed. Like let's not turn it on now at 2:00.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, I actually ended up playing a couple of double headers this last year, which was kind of fun. It was my first time doing it. I did one of them was 2 gigs, and the other one was I recorded an album in noon until about as late as mid afternoon, and then I packed everything up and drove home, swapped gear, and then played a country show that night. So
yep,
it's kind of crazy that I recorded an album with a punk band earlier in the day, and then went and was playing country at nighttime. It's kind of crazy.
Oh yeah, it's exhausting, dude. Because we used to do that. We used to do that like at least 3 or 4 times a summer in J. Clyde, and every time we'd look at each other at the end of the day, and it's like, why do we do this crap? Like it's. Especially you haul in like a whole set of sound gear, set it up once, tear it down, throw it back in the trailer, move to the next place, take it out, set it up, and it's like you're just exhausted by the end.
Yep.
Hey, pause just a second.
Yep.
I'm gonna get rid of this cat.
You got it.
Sorry about that. Like
that's hilarious.
I just knew she was gonna continue to be a problem. So.
Oh my gosh,
Didn't
that's
think about
hilarious.
That. So.
All right.
Back in.
Clapping back in. Oh gosh. So.
Yeah, the dual show thing in one day is just, yeah. I mean, I'm not opposed to it if the money's there anymore, but oh man, it's getting tougher and tougher to do for me anyway.
I always feel that way, if I have a really busy day when I'm driving to the show, I'm just like, what am I doing? And I'm just setting up the gear this is dumb. I did I worked all day and then I did a podcast. Now I'm playing a show at night and it's just so busy. And then, but when you're playing the show, you're like, oh yeah, this is why I'm doing that. It's kind of weird because you just get in the zone and you're like, this is what I'm doing, So it's weird because that's probably the thing that's the biggest dichotomy in my mind with staying so busy, but also it's what I want to do. So it's a double-edged sword once again,
You want this dream of being able to play in a band, and it's I'm here, I'm doing it. be grateful. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
you know?
So that's kind of crazy though, because I mean, like you recently started your own business and stuff, so you get to see what it's like to be self-employed now, and so that's like,
Oh, dude.
that's everyone always thinks like, oh, it must be easy. You just hire people and make them do the work, and it's like, nah, it's not that easy. Like, I
No,
only understand
definitely.
this from an accounting standpoint because I spent a few years in the accounting world, and so that's something where I see like, oh, this isn't as easy as people make it out to be.
Oh,
So,
dude.
yes.
Like, I wouldn't trade having, we don't need to talk about painting or anything like that, but like, I wouldn't trade owning my own business for the world. Cause I mean, one, you are your own boss and you don't answer to anyone, but like, if anybody ever thinks that you're less busy and you're working less because you own your own business, like, you've already lost.
Yeah, not a chance.
Because that's not true at all. So
Yeah, it's pretty wild. So you get to experience that on top of like still playing a bunch of shows, which is kind of wild, And we were talking about going to see Matt Woods play not too long ago, and you're like, "Hey, I think I'm going to get off early today," and it was one of those deals where it ended up not working out for you, unfortunately, and you couldn't make it to the show. And I was thinking then I was like, man, he's busy. He's a busy guy. Like, can't even make it out to a show on a day that he, probably has the time to go. But it's you just got.
I was so mad, dude. I was so mad that I missed that because, I mean, I've conversed with Matt online a couple of times, but I've never got to meet him in person. Never got to actually see him play live. And like, I was texting back and forth with my wife during the day, and I was like, "Hey, we could make this work, couldn't we? We could make it up there." And it's like, when it comes time to leave, it's like, no, babysitter doesn't work out. It's like, And then I was mad because I did leave work early. I was like, well, if that was the case, I should have kept working for a couple more hours. It's like,
Yeah.
it's just, it's one of those deals. It's, the whole being busy thing. It's like, and I've got this question. We also last year I had 2 twin boys. Like,
congrats.
And thank you. And like, so that has been obviously a life-changing experience. And it's like, I talk to people all the time. They're like, I'm surprised you still get to do these shows, get to do all this stuff. Well, number one, like, my wife is a saint. She's very supportive of the music end of things. And, without her, that would not be possible. But 2, just all of that mess of stuff, business, kids, what that forces me to do is to be organized and take advantage of the time that I do have. Like, it's like, well, okay, we get the kids to bed, spend a little time with Claire, and it's like, hey, I've got 2 hours before I need to go to bed or whatever. Like, I better play some guitar because tomorrow night I may not get that time, it's made me more organized to prepare. It's like, okay, I've got a gig this weekend. Well, I can't just drop of a hat, take off and do a gig. I got to make sure that things are lined up. I got to make sure my work's done. Like, so it forces me to just be more organized is all it's done.
Yeah. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, I was always a fairly organized person, and I say that like generally, but not necessarily like, I'm not one of those like hyper organized people, I guess. But I always kind of like envied the people that could just cut loose and stuff like that. It's like, I don't have any plans. I never make plans. I just do whatever happens. And it's like, that seems like it's so much fun. Like just blowing in the wind. But I always found it. The more organized you are, the better off it is. I guess at least.
And trust me, there's still days I'm making this up as I go a lot of the times. But like, it's it's just it's fun. Being busy's fun. It's a blessing, but it's just got to keep on with the grind.
What? Speaking of the grind, I was just thinking to myself, like, when you played with Cory Waller this year, there was one show I remember, like, so Ragbri had come through Fort Dodge, and Jesse and I and the Rascals, Jesse and the Rascals, were playing a show at Sneakers, and of course Sneakers was packed. Everywhere it was packed. It was Ragbri, but you guys were on one of the downtown stages, and I recall like pulling into town, and it's like, oh, it's real busy over there. And so I drive over to Sneakers, and I get out of my car, and you guys are playing, the downtown show, and I was like, oh, these guys are playing to a lot of people. And then I saw pictures of it, and I was like, oh, there's a lot of people out here. So that seemed like a pretty big show. Is that one of the biggest shows you played this year?
Actually, to be real honest with you, like if you drove by us or you drove by, we played probably like right as the people were getting into town, and we were on the other end of the strip. So like there wasn't a ton of people where we were at that point in time. I mean, they're all off in the distance getting beer, getting refueled and partying. That's actually the biggest show that we done this summer, which it was right in the same area, but it was a downtown country jam.
Oh, maybe that was the picture I saw then.
Oh yeah, that's the one. The Ride Bride, they had like 3 different stages, and we played first in the afternoon, and then they had Salty View on the big stage and Lone Tree Revival down at the other end of the strip. But,
oh, cool.
But yeah, downtown country jam, dude. So that was a gig for the books. I don't know how many people were there, and I'm not even going to throw out the number, but there was let's just say there was a lot of people. And what I loved about it was that there was a lot of people, and they were there for our set. Like I think we played an hour-long set, and we had because I've done a lot of those opening gigs before where, okay, you're the first band on the ticket, the local opening band, and people, you start at 6 and the main guy goes on at 8:30. Well, people start rolling in at 7:45, and you're like playing to no one.
Mm-hmm.
But Downtown Country Jam was insane, and my hat's off to Jim Reed in Fort Dodge. Shout out to him. Like, he put on the event. He treated us like so good, and we were just so thankful for that show because it was some of the most fun that I've ever had. It was just we were kind of on our game that night, playing real well, and the crowd was into it, and couldn't have had more fun. So
yeah, that's wild. Was that the show in Manson that I'm thinking of, or is that the Fort Dodge show?
That's Fort Dodge, Downtown Country Jam. We did Crash My Crater too over in Manson.
Yeah, that was another pretty big show.
Yeah. That one was the one in Fort Dodge. We opened up for Randy Houser, and then the one in Manson we did, which I don't know him very well, but it was Nito Moon and Jameson Rogers, who I think they're pretty hot on some of the country charts now. But so that was a really good show. Once again, just thankful for those opportunities, and we had several of those this year, and never thought we'd be doing that. So
yeah, it's pretty wild. Like Jay Clyde kind of shuts down, and then you kind of pull up Cory Waller and the Wicked Things, and it's just like, how long is it going to take to ramp this all the way back up to full speed? And it seemed like it didn't take, like, within the first year, you guys would say, like, all right, you guys want to open up for these guys? You guys want to play this show? And you guys got a lot of really cool bookings out of the whole deal.
Oh yeah. Well, and once again, like, I give credit where credit is due. We were definitely, we had built up a rapport, from the Jay Clyde years. And if we had not done that, if we did not have that, the Wicked Things would have not had the shows that we had.
That's true. That's very true.
But now too, you see like I love seeing now like Neil Anders, who was one of the other guitar players in Jay Clyde. He's off doing his solo stuff, and Graydon Jake, who played drums and bass in Jay Clyde, they're playing with him. And like, I went and watched them. I watched Neil a couple times this summer, and I watched Neil and the full band play, and it's like, they're out there killing it. And I think he's getting ready to put out a new album sometime this spring. So it's, it's like, it was just a beautiful thing where, everybody's going to get to do more of what they want.
Yeah.
And Cory and I just got lucky that, with the resume of Jay Clyde on our, in hand, and getting lucky and picking up some awesome people like Caleb Ferry and Emily Johnson and Etheridge Nets. It was just a perfect storm for the summer that we had.
Yeah, that's really fun. That's really cool. Excuse me. Yeah, it's really. I think it's really kind of fun that you know, when I first started playing guitar, I was like, how do people know like where to play, and how do people who are booking shows know who to book? And then I started to figure out after I was in the scene for a few years, like, oh, there's some people out there each and every week putting out like some high quality product, you know, and that's kind of what is the mainstay, because you know that like, you know, you're not just gonna like book a show and try and pull like a trick on somebody or ruse them with like, started a new band, we're awesome, and then you get booked and it's like, well, we've only had 2 practices and we're kind of just guessing our way through this, you know, like, you know, you're not going to pull any of that.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not saying there's people out there doing that, but I actually have, like, you know, in some shows I've played at, you know, you play a few hundred shows in a couple of years and it's just like, oh yeah, there's some places out there you play shows with people and it's like, oh yeah, especially after COVID, like I did play with some bands that were just like, we haven't practiced in like a year and a half, so we'll just see what happens. And it's like, holy cow, like,
yeah,
I don't know if I'd have the guts to do that. And believe it or not, like a lot of them have pulled it off really well, but it's still kind of wild.
I won't lie to you too. Like, I mean, I had to get those first few gigs, you know, and granted we went down to like a 3-hour set, but like it took me a little bit to get in road shape as well. Cause I mean, we in 2020 with the whole COVID bullshit, excuse my language, but
that's cool.
Like it just, I mean, you know, that killed most everything for all of us musically. It's like, I mean, we had a full year there of hardly playing at all, and it's like it was tough to get kind of back in the swing of things, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, this is what it feels like to drive home at 2 a.m. You know.
which is kind of wild. I was like thinking that when I played New Year's Eve recently, I was just like, man, driving home late, this stinks. And then it was New Year's Eve, and it was kind of junky weather and roads anyways. They weren't terrible, but it was still just like, ugh.
Oh yeah, no, that stuff's for the birds, but it's all part of it. It's the whole package.
That is true. That is very true. Oh man. So do you guys have anything like huge plans for Cory Waller and the Wicked Things coming up in 2020, or is it just pedal to the metal, same as usual? Like,
well, so we've got a few shows on the books already for next summer, and so I mean, one is trying to make sure that we have like my joke is after this last summer, it's like, you know, what are we gonna do now? Like go play somebody's bar mitzvah next summer? Like, you know, it's just it's like what gigs are we gonna get now after we had that summer? But you know, the goal is to start putting out some more content, some more material, and you know, try to get some more gigs on the books. Cory the other day, he just sent me a rough draft of another tune that he wrote. One thing that we haven't done, he's got several originals ready to go. Like we've probably got enough for a full length album, but once again, the time, it's been, you know, we spent most of our time up front practicing, getting ready for the summer shows, and then once you start playing hard in the summer, it's so hard to get together and record an album. So this winter, that's going to be one of our main focuses, and then hopefully putting out our own with the Wicked Things album next spring sometime, hopefully.
Oh, that's cool.
Don't hold me to it, but
yeah,
that's hopefully what'll happen.
That's the general plan. So that's really awesome. Like that's kind of what I was hoping you'd lean into, is saying you're gonna have some original stuff possibly coming out later. So,
well, and he's, like I say, he's got several. I mean, we got one tune that's sitting at the recording studio right now, ready to mix and put out. But, you know, at this point, we're just probably going to wait and put the whole thing out. We've been playing a lot of his tunes live all summer. Now it's just like, you know, we've got one tune out on iTunes, and it's like, all right, we got to get the material out there. Like, all right, you know, we had our freshman year. Now it's time to grow and put something to our name.
So now this is going to be the fun one. So as the music landscape has changed over the years, you thinking you're just going to put out some singles, so that way you have fresh material coming out every month or so, or 2 months, or are you guys thinking you're going to make a whole album?
I don't know, man. Well, I don't want to speak for him, but I think if you talk to Cory right now, like he's an album guy.
Yep.
And I'm an album guy too. Like, granted, like when I some of my favorite bands put out a single or whatever, like, yeah, that's great. But even if it's digital, like I love getting to like listen to a full length album and this is more for the musicians than the general public. Like, you listen to a full album, and then like you start to feel like, all right, this is where their headspace was with this album, or this is like, not only do the individual songs say something, but like, there's an overarching theme or a storyline within the song. So, Cory's an album guy, I'm an album guy, but most likely, since we're playing in this country world a little bit, like, we'll get a full album recorded, then we'll probably put out a couple singles and then eventually release the whole thing. But
nice.
I'd be willing to bet that's the way it happens.
Yeah, for anybody that's listening that is wondering what, like, oh, Cory's a good, songwriter, etc., go check out some of that Jay Clyde stuff from back in the day. There's a little bit of a testament to some of that. You guys have some original songs out in that space. And I mean, I saw you guys live a few times, and I mean, it's amazing, like, what you guys were all able to do. So I'm like excited to see, what you and Cory and the rest of the Wicked Things are going to be able to do, coming up in the next year. Because I don't know, like I said, when I first started playing in the music scene around here and going to jam nights and kind of getting to know people, and even like the first time you came over and did a podcast like 2+ years ago was like the first time I ever met you like face to face, really. And like I said, I went to some Jay Clyde shows and I was just like, holy cow, these guys are some of the powerhouses out there. And it's like you said, it's really kind of fun to see what everyone got to do after that all ended, because it's not like people were just like, I'm done playing music. You guys all went out and are still doing things, which is really, really cool to see. So,
for sure. Sure.
And go for it.
Oh, sorry, man.
No, that's cool.
No, me too, man. Like, and I'm pumped for, like, I feel like over this summer, we had this, it was almost a sad conversation because we have another tune that I had recorded a whole bunch of guitar for, and it's sitting in the queue right now. And we've let it sit for almost 8 months. Well, some of the stuff that Cory's starting to write right now, and just like the sound that we kind of developed over the summer, that tune that I did a bunch of work for and recorded guitar for, and it's sitting there ready to go, doesn't sound like what we as a band have like evolved into.
Man.
You know what I mean? And so, like, there's a good chance that thing's probably going to get scrapped, right? Which, on one hand, I'm sad about that. But on the other hand, it's like, now we've got kind of like this sound. So I can't wait to put that, put that down and put that and record it and be able to listen back to it. Hopefully that comes across, but we'll see what happens.
So my thought process for this is, like, if you end up with a song like that you don't know what to do with, that might not sound like the rest of them, put it out as a B-side or a demo with a single. So, like, if you end up recording an album worth of stuff and have one single and maybe record a music video with it or something, like, promote all that stuff. But then when you put it out on Spotify and everything, like, don't even tell anyone and just, like, slap that B-side in there with it. And people are going to be like, what is this? And they're going to be like, this is so cool. It's like a surprise for everyone that actually went out of their way to go look for it.
Yeah, you never know. Like, I was I will admit, like, I was heartbroken when he said, like, Cory's like, I don't know, we probably should move on from that tune. And I'm like, dude, like, I poured my heart and soul into that tune. Like, but then like, the more I think about it, I'm just like, this isn't necessarily the band, but I like your idea. Like, there, it'd be just one of those fun things to, like, all right, here's the extra, like, here's our product, but here's this extra thing, that somebody else might, enjoy. So
yeah,
we'll see.
I mean, you could do the old school, like, hidden track on the last song for anybody that buys the physical copy. The last song was always like 12 minutes long, and then, like, the last bit of it was a song that you didn't know was actually in there. So
that's a good idea. Just have to try.
Yeah,
try that.
Kick it old school. I mean, I loved that with CDs where you're just like, there's 13 songs, and the last one's like 22 minutes for some reason, and it's only actually like a 3-minute song, and after all the silence, you get like a little bonus thingy. So,
yep.
I mean, that was a little trick they always used. But yeah, promoting music nowadays is kind of weird because there's no rules, and you can kind of mix what was popular back in the day with what's popular now. So, like, the singles was popular, and that's why I think, like, back in the day, singles were popular, and the B-side was always like, here's a cover we did or something like goofy, you know, and it was just like, oh, the B-side's kind of a crazy one, you know, and so you could, that's where I'm kind of into nowadays, where I've seen some artists do that, where they're like, they have a single ready to go, and then they'll just tack like 2 other like projects they've been working on underneath of it that they're not going to finish because it doesn't fit the album, you know?
Yep. Well, and it's what's really so I would say that if you like kind of compared Cory Waller and the Wicked Things to another band, like not a band per se, but we're kind of like, we're really into like a lot of those like Texas country, Texas music scene, Hayes Carl, Ray Wiley Hubbard, Whiskey Myers, you know, so we're like really into that realm, which, you know, in the subset of the genre that is country music, like, you know, that's a little bit smaller subsect, but like, you know, how you produce that album and how you market that album versus like, you know, if you're going for like more of the top 40 sound and how you produce that album, how you market it, like it's different, or at least I see it's different from, you know, artist to artist, how they work. So it's, I don't know, it's strange. Like we go back and forth all the time. Like, well, what do we actually do here? Like, how do we want to do this? Well, at the end of the day, it's like, one, a lot of it just comes down to what do we have time for? 2, it's like, all right, at some point we just need to get something out there. So like, let's get it going, you know, and get it done. So yeah, I don't know, right, wrong, or indifferent. That's kind of the marching orders that we run with. So
yeah, I mean, that kind of comes back to like the old thing that I'm starting to realize a lot of people have issues with is like, do I play 100 shows a year or do I record something, you know? And it's like, I've got 40 songs that I should record in some fashion or another, but like I play like a zillion shows a year, so there's no time to sit down and, you know, so it's, exactly. You always got to find that weird balance in there. Because I mean, I think of people like Clint Riedel, not too long ago, like got his book of songs like all together and stuff like that, and it's like, dude, there's like 100+ pages here of songs you've written. He's like, yeah, I know. And it's like, you have like 12 songs recorded. And he's like, yeah, I know. Like, what are you doing? Yeah. But
yeah. Well, it's tough, and I can totally see it. Like him, yeah, he's playing all the time, and you know, it's just one, and it's something we face too. It's like if you want to do it right, everything costs money. Mm-hmm. So like, you know, we're all playing as a band, and it's like, okay, so hopefully we make a couple $100 a night. Well, you know, shoot, there's some days that's going to my bills, like to pay, like, so it's like, well, when it comes time to record the album, oh, we need like $5,000 for merch and CDs and all this stuff, and it's, well, shit, maybe we should go play some more shows. Well, then we put off doing the album. It's just an endless cycle, you know?
Yeah.
And at some point you just got to put your foot down and be like, this is what we're doing right now. Like, yep. Damn it, let's make it happen.
Oh gosh. That's the truth though. I mean, it's crazy because this is all like nothing more than like a ridiculously out of control hobby for most of us. You know, like this is if you didn't have to work 40 hours a week, or in your case probably like 60 to 80 hours a week to get by and do what you want to do, like what would you do? And it's like a lot of us would probably just play music, you know, or have something to do in this scene somehow. So it is kind of wild to think that you just got to find a way to balance it all out, and it doesn't necessarily balance itself out as well as you'd think, you know, because like this year I was sitting down thinking, I was like, man, I played, and I actually counted it. What was the total? I can't remember. 75 shows this year or something I played. And
yeah, that's getting it, man. That's getting it.
It's a lot of shows. And I'm like, man, I made some money this year. And then it's like, no, I drove a zillion miles. And then I think about like how much gas money is. And I'm like, oh, and then
pretty soon your transmission is going to fall out, like, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just like, I don't know if I came out ahead. Like, I feel like I did, but I don't know. So like, yeah, it's totally just like an out of control hobby where you have to find that weird balance of like, what do we want to get out of this, and when do we want to get out of this, you know? And I'm sure you guys are smart. You guys have done it before, and so you'll figure it out. Like, eventually you'll just be like, well, this album needs to get done, and that's when I think all the good stuff's going to end up happening, when you put it in that gear. So I'm excited, man. I'm really excited for that.
Thank you. I'm pumped for it too. Like, this is just a good group of people that, I've been lucky to get to play with, and who knows where it's going to go. I just you find that you ask that philosophical question. It's like, what are we looking to get out of this? And I, there's like a lot of times I struggle with it because my boys are going to get older someday, and I want to be more involved with them. And what we do is selfish.
Yeah.
If you really want to look at it, when it comes to like your family, if you have a family or your loved ones, like what we do is actually pretty selfish if you think about it. But like,
yeah. Sorry, hon, I can't. I got to play a show New Year's Eve. Oh, no.
Yeah.
I'm playing Christmas Eve. Sorry, no opening, like.
Exactly.
Yep, I can't go to the in-laws this year for Thanksgiving because I'm playing a show Thanksgiving Eve,
Yeah. And I think I guess for me anymore, it's like my criteria for, wanting to go play a show or being out, it's like, what I've been saying is it's like, it's got to be worth it, whether that's financially, whether that's, what's the right word? Is this show going to be good for my soul? Am I going to be musically inspired by this to go do this? If it fits one of those two things, then I'll go do it. But if it doesn't fit either one of those, then, it's no offense to anybody who, whether they ask me to fill in or, there's another project getting started, I'm just not going to be a part of it unless I know that like I'm going to get one of those two things. You know what I mean?
I mean, that makes sense though. Plus, like, I feel like you're one of those people that's good enough where, like, if you took every gig everywhere, every time that anybody asked you to do, it's like you'd be in 40 bands playing 200 shows a year, and it's like...
Oh, yeah, yeah. And I do a fair amount of that. It's like just the other day I picked up this, I picked up this show with, there's some guy from Kansas City that's coming up he's doing a show in Denison, and then he's doing a show over in Cedar Falls, a country guy from down there, and he got my name through the grapevine and asked me if I could fill in. And it's like, the pay was pretty darn good. And it's like, well, shoot, I can't turn this down, but then I'm like, well, there's a family Christmas that we were supposed to have that day. And it's like, oh crap, well, I'm gonna have to leave that early, but I'm also going to make a decent amount of money. It's like,
yeah.
I'm going to go do the show. All right, I'll see you later. It's just, I don't know. It's a struggle.
It is. It's honestly crazy. And I mean, like, I think the craziest thing to me, we were talking about like, getting excited out there in the music scene and doing things that are worth it, that you really actually want to do. And you kind of fired up a blues band again, which is, something I always figured,
That was a beautiful segue.
Beautiful
segue. Love it.
I'm getting good at this. Give me 3 years, I'll get good at anything. But yeah, like, honestly, we're talking about getting excited. That was like one of the things I was excited for in the music scene. Like, I'd seen you at some jam nights. I've gotten to play with you at a few jam nights, and I primarily play like bluesy-ish songs, and it's just like, Ronley, we're playing this A minor, and then it's just like Ronley goes to town, like, and so I'm like, yeah, Ronley, I feel like you're a blues guy, but you're also like a chicken picker, so you got this country twang kind of thing going on too that blows my mind. And so you did recently start a blues band, and I think that was one of the things that I was just like, this is gonna be cool, because I knew Owen was gonna play along with you, and I was just like, it's going to be wild to see Owen playing blues music, because I feel like Owen just wants to go absolutely nuts all the time, Plus, you had some other cool people in the band it was my first time seeing them, I believe, because I don't ever think I saw Saucy Jack play.
You're talking about Andy Shelley?
Yeah. And that's one of those things where I can't guarantee that I didn't, but I'm not sure I did ever go see Saucy Jack play. So, well,
to be honest with you, in all the years that they played, I think I taught them twice, and one was like they opened up at Celebration once, and then I seen them. I can't remember what small bar I seen them play in, but yeah, I only actually seen them play twice in all the years that they played. But a lot of that is because we were busy too at the same time. But yeah, they were a force to be reckoned with, man. Like,
yeah,
holy crap, like. If you wanted some 80s hair metal, like, rock and roll, that was the band. Like,
all right.
I'd put them up against anybody, you know.
So here's what I want to run down is first and foremost the new formation of this blues band, because this isn't the first time you've tried this. You have played some shows with Sean Minicus in the past, and I've seen Sean play before, and he's good too. So it's like one of those things where I don't know if I missed those shows or I wasn't attentive enough on the scene to figure out what was going on, but I missed those shows, and I'm bummed I missed them. But you got a new band together, and I kind of wanted to have you go through, because it's you and 3 other people. So I want to see what your thoughts were on picking the members that you did for the band, because it's kind of a wide variety of other people. When you think blues band, I'm not sure I would think any of them individually, but somehow it perfectly works.
Oh no, I can totally speak to that in just a second. But I mean, yeah, as far as kind of the timeline there and the evolution, like, so my brother-in-law, Sean Minicus, you know, we played together off and on for quite a while, and he was in J. Clyde too for there towards the end. And he's a killer blues guitar player. Like, now he plays with predominantly with Lone Tree Revival is the band. But so we, you know, and what we done, it was totally off the cuff. Like, you know, him and I were having a few beers one night. We're like, hey, let's do a blues band. Like, you know, let's just do it. So we did. And so we booked a few shows, played a few times, and then we probably would have still been doing it, but then COVID happened and just ruined everything. So that kind of ended. And as his life has progressed, he's gotten busier and busier, and just like anyone else. So, and I guess where this kind of evolved from is earlier this summer, I got to fill in for a blues band. Like, you know, I get calls to do a lot of country gigs just because that's what people know me for. Very rarely do I get a call to fill in for a blues band, and I got one from Amanda Fish, which, if that's her sister, is Samantha Fish, who is massive in the blues world, and Amanda's amazing in her own right, and she's kicking and scratching up to the top. So, but I got lucky enough to do a show with her, right, and it was so much fun. Like, it was so much fun. Like, you know, I got to. I think I talked about this a lot on the last podcast, was like, you know, there's a difference between, like, Cory Waller and the Wicked Things. We're pretty regimented, right? Like, we've got a set, we know when the cues are, we know how long the solo is going to be, like, every song. With what I got to do with Amanda is, like, you know, she had a lot of her original music and some covers. It's like, and God bless her, because in that show, she doesn't know who I was from Adam, but we showed up, we played, and, you know, I felt like I gave her a pretty professional performance, but she, like, allowed me to open up and do things that I haven't gotten to do in years. Mm-hmm. So it's like, after that, I'm like, I got to do more of this. Like, I don't care how busy I am, you know, like, Cory Waller and the Wicked Things is my main band, but, like, I got to do more of this. So, you know, then usher in this new generation of the Ronley King Blues Band, which that's what we're calling it. Mm-hmm. First is the Ronley King Blues Band. Like, I mean, we play some other stuff that's not blues, and by no means are we, like, am I, you know, self-absorbed enough to think, like, you know, I'm an official blues guy by any stretch.
You're so conceited. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Like, it's just like, one time we just called it the Ronley King Blues Band. I'm like, all right, that's what it is. So when I started to look into, okay, I want to do this. One, I've played a ton with another guitar player, but I have not got to play with many key players.
Yeah.
Like keys. And that's something that I have wanted to do for a long time. So that's how Gabriel Alves came into play, which, if anybody has never heard of Gabriel Alves, he's one of the best kept secrets in Fort Dodge, Iowa. And I was lucky enough, you know, for that first show and hopefully the subsequent shows, to get him to come out and play with us. Amazing keys player. So that's how he...
Can confirm. insanity. Like,
dude, wasn't it nuts? Like when we were playing at that, when I was playing at that gig, like there was so many times like I just stood back and I'm just like listening to this and listening to him just go off. I'm like, I can't believe I'm here right now. You know?
Yeah, I put him in the category of one of those people that like you can stuff musical phrases in places they shouldn't be and it sounds good for some reason. Like that's how good he is.
Yeah, it's unreal. I mean, and he's a pro in every sense of the word. Not many people probably know his background, but I mean, he played on cruise ships for a lot of years, you know, grab and go performances, like people coming in and backing up stars from all over the place. Like, so he's just, and he's just a killer human being as well. So that was how Gabrielle kind of, for obvious reasons. Owen, you know, we've talked about him. I mean, he's just a killer bass player, and he's only going to continue to get better. And then Andy, you know, what's funny about Andy is so Sean and I did our blues band thing for a few shows a couple years back, but then we also did a jam at River Hops a few times. Mm-hmm. And so we were getting in, we were trying to, you know, Sean and I were kind of the permanent fixtures in that. But then we were bringing in players, you know, off and on to try to fill in, and other guitar, you know, a few other guitar players and drummers. But we got Andy to come play for us, and like, I mean, I'll be honest, the first time when we brought him in, I'm like, I know he's good, but like, is he going to be able to like be in the pocket? You know, is he going to be able to swing? Like, you know, he can beat the hell out of a drum on like, you know, a Motley Crue tune, but like, is he going to be able to do all that? Well, he showed up, and it's like, we start playing all these funk tunes and like shuffles, and the dude is just like solid as they come. And I'm like, all right, man, like you need to do this. And, you know, throughout many conversations that we had, he's like, yeah, I'd love to do more of this stuff. Like I just never got to, you know, obviously I've been playing for 13 years in one of the best rock and roll bands in Iowa. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, but I don't get to play like funk, or I don't get to play blues or whatever. So I'm like, come aboard, man. And that's where we're at now. You know, we got the little lineup doing, and I'm sure like, you know, Gabrielle's schedule is pretty hectic as well. So there'll be a lot of times if we book some more shows, we'll probably end up doing some trio gigs, most likely, but, you know, we're going to try to keep that 4-piece going as much as we can, just cause it's fun, you know?
Yeah.
It's emotionally gratifying. You know, so
yeah, that was fun to get to see you guys all play together live. Every one of you guys are killers in your own right, so that was like something fun. It was like, man, this is like a super group out here playing blues music, and blues is some of my favorite music. So
I wouldn't say like a super group in blues. Like I wish one of my biggest what do you want to call them insecurities is like I'm not a when it comes to blues. I don't feel like, you know, you got a guy like, you know, we mentioned Matt Woods earlier, like that dude is authentic in every sense of the word. And I'm like, here I am, like, I've got my licks, you know, and it's like, I'm going to play. Yeah, I like that music too. So I'm going to play it, you know, so I got to pay my dues. But, but I'm just, at the end of the day, it's all about having fun, and that's what we're going to do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, you guys are all... It was really fun to go to that show, too, because I showed up early. I'm like, better show up early, you know? And so I show up, and it was about 10 minutes to, and I had to park down the street and around the corner because it was so full, and I was just like, neat. So I was just like, I'll just wait until the show starts, and it's like, well, it's not going to get any emptier. I better go in. So I think I walked in during your second song, and I was like walking by the window, and I'm like, there's one seat next to somebody I know, and I just like walked in and ducked all the way into the back corner because there's nowhere else to sit. The place was packed. There were people standing in there and stuff. So it was pretty fun.
I couldn't believe it too, dude. You don't know how, like when you put your name on something, and then you're like, is anybody gonna show up?
Yeah. Yeah,
like
I get it.
And like just to have, just, you know, and my family and some friends and stuff that came to watch, like, you know, I'm so appreciative of that. But like, you know, I wasn't so nervous about the music. I wasn't nervous about us playing, but like I was like, is anybody even going to come tonight? And then we got lucky and had a pretty good crowd that night, so it was fun.
That was tons of fun. So I'm looking forward to you guys playing some more shows in 2022.
We'll be at the next one. We're actually going to be, and I don't like playing too much in the same spot, but we're going to be back at the Boardroom Lounge.
Okay.
The Eagles Landing, Tim Maple's establishment there, on the 15th of January.
Is that the second floor or the third floor?
I believe it's the third floor.
The third
correct?
floor.
Yeah, third floor. That's where it's got the big ballroom and the stage and everything.
Yep.
So.
Yep. All right. Yeah, because I do remember shows happening on the second floor back in the day, though, too. So, and they've gone through so many name changes and stuff, but that's the toughest thing to remember is which floor you're playing on when you go in there. Because I don't know. Like I said, I saw so many shows on the second floor before I ever saw any on the third floor.
Yep.
But
dude, that's a place to watch too. Like Tim Maple, the guy who runs it and owns it now. Like he's killing it. I think you guys are actually playing there. I don't know if Jesse's doing it solo or full band, but you're playing there right after the first of the year here at some point. But
yeah, maybe. Yeah, I believe so. My calendar's. Yeah, but I won't pull it up, but yeah.
At any rate, I'm excited to have in the list of good venues that is in Fort Dodge, here's going to be another awesome one, so.
Yeah, that place is going to find a nice spot for itself. Because, there's all sorts of shows there. Rock, heavy metal, punk. Yep. I've seen it all there. So it's going to be fun.
So, yeah, the Blues Band will be back there on the 15th. And then we got several other inquiries. For me, that's going to be maybe a once or twice a month thing. Everybody else is busy, and Andy's getting ready to go out and do shows with Scott Kirkhart and stuff, and Gabrielle's got he's the music director for a church, so he's busy a lot. So we're just going to try to keep that as a fun thing that we do off and on from time to time, and just kind of recharge and see where it goes. So.
Yeah, well, that's really cool, man. Like I said.
Definitely.
You got some awesome, fun projects going right now. It's always fun to watch you play. It's always fun to get an opportunity to play with you and things like that. And like I said, recently you've been coming to some jam nights. And one of my favorite things about coming to the jam nights, etc., is just you never know who's going to show up. And we all know how busy you are, and it's just always just Ronley's here. It's that's crazy. So.
Well, dude, I wish I could. If I could get away for every one of those, it'd be awesome. But there's just there's those few nights that I came here towards the end of last year is a perfect storm. Either my wife had the kids somewhere else with her family, or it was the perfect time. So I'm I'm going. You know, I don't care. I'm going. But then there's just so many nights where it's because I know Owen was texting me every Tuesday hey. You should come tonight. And I'm
that is awesome.
Dude, I got to watch kids,
It's so hard to say no to him, too.
Yeah.
He's the secret weapon because, he texts so many people and they show up literally just because he asks them to, and it's so fun. So, oh, God, I love that kid. I do want to say, though, that one of the last jam nights you were there, somebody was just hey, you like Telecasters, and I've got a 12-string Telecaster, and you were just what? So we brought that bad boy over, and you got to play that. And so, I do want to see what you think of it, because that has come out at jam nights a couple times here and there, and I ended up, fixing it up because it didn't work the first time it came to jam night. It, kind of worked and kind of didn't, so I took it home and rewired the whole thing. It needed more power, so I rewired it. There's my Tim Allen.
There you go.
But so I rewired the thing and set it all up and stuff, put new strings on it, and it eventually made it back into jam night in your hands. And I just wanted to see what you thought of playing a 12-string Telecaster, because it's just kind of weird.
Oh, that was a trip, dude. You don't see that stuff very often, and because I finally got the thing tuned up when someone was playing Simple Man. I think somebody was playing it. It was and I jumped in halfway through the tune and then came in with that, that lead lick or whatever that's on Simple Man. And it's sounded so weird, trippy on a 12 string. Yeah, I don't know if you know it, but Clint, who gave that, who brought that in, he actually like made me take that home with me that night.
Yep.
And I'm just like, because he was just arguing with me. He's like, no, you should take this and like play it and stuff. And I'm like, you should have it. I'm just like, all right, Clint, I'll keep it safe for you. You know, you just let me know when you want it back. So.
Yep. Yeah, it's kind of a neat little guitar though. It's like a kit guitar, but I've seen other ones online out there when I researched them, but I've never seen one like that. So it's kind of.
Can you hear my dog snoring in the background?
No.
Tucker, keep it down back there. Sorry about that.
That's hilarious.
I kept hearing my dog snore. I'm like, man, I must be really boring.
Super entertaining podcast. Oh my gosh. So yeah, I mean, it's been fun to see you at jam nights. It's like kind of goofy to have like a 12-string electric guitar in your hands, you know, and I'm looking forward to you putting out some random video on a random night where you're sitting in your basement playing guitar and you're like, check this out, guys, and you just bust out some 12-string.
Oh yeah, no, that'll probably be in the queue at some point.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool.
Fun. That's fun stuff. Like, yeah, just add to the collection. Have another tool in the toolbox. You know.
Yeah, no kidding. You never know when that might make it on a song too. You know, properly applied, it would sound really good. So.
Definitely.
Well, I feel like we've got a lot of stuff covered here. We did about an hour. Is there anything that I didn't cover that I should have covered in this episode? Because once again, I mean, Cory Waller and the Wicked Things, you guys are going to go nuts this next year. You got Ronley King Blues Band reformed, re-energized, ready to go again. So some more shows coming up there. And yeah.
I think that's pretty much it as far as what's going on with me musically. You know, I've got a logo and stuff put together like for the Ronley King Blues Band page, and I'm gonna have that live here, maybe even today.
Oh, cool!
And I'm gonna try to make that kind of like the hub of like, this is what I'm doing right now. You know, like it might be the Ronley King Blues Band page, but like it'll be like, all right, the Wicked Things are playing here, and I'm playing with Wicked Things here, and then like, you know, I do a bunch of fill-in gigs for a lot of country people throughout the year. And I'm actually, you know, as time goes on, that's something that I want to get to doing more of, is being just a kind of an on-call guy for, you know, whether it be blues, whether it be country or, you know, rock and roll type stuff. Like, that's what I kind of want to build that page out. So I guess if there's one more thing I would plug is this, that eventually here soon, I'll be having that page live and try to build that up just to kind of be my hub of everything Ronley King music, you know. So
nice. That'll be really cool. Yeah. So if you end up getting that set up before the episode comes out, let me know and I'll drop links down below for everybody.
Rock on.
And if not, just keep an eye out for Ronley King postings because they're going to be coming. Sure. They're going to be coming. So Ronley, don't go away. It's been great to talk to you though. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Yep. Oh, good stuff. Good stuff indeed. You know, Ronley's one of those guys. He's super good. I mean, I don't want to just be like, well, you guys got to go see him to believe it. But, dude, go see him to believe it. He's amazing. He's super fun to go watch play. He's a great guy. We can sit down and talk gear and stuff like that. It's also kind of fun to know that some of the people I've interviewed not terribly long ago on the podcast have kind of crossed paths. I believe Jason Boggs and Ronley King actually got together not too long ago. We talked about it a little bit on the Jason Boggs episode. Didn't quite get to it on this episode, but I do know those two guys kind of chum around on the internet and banter back and forth on each other's pages. And that's actually something I'm starting to see a lot of, is some of the people that I'm interviewing are starting to cross paths and realize who each other are and interact with each other here and there. And it's so much easier now to interact with other musicians and become friends with them and things like that. So that's one of the things I enjoy really seeing out there in the scene. So hats off to those guys for, you know, budding a friendship. And Ronley, you know, such a busy guy. Not only did he start up a band last year, but he started up another band. So Cory Waller and the Wicked Things, great band. Ronley King Blues Band, such a fun time to go watch them play live. So much fun. So many talented people in one spot in that band. I mean, both bands, honestly. I mean, it is absolutely wild. And a lot of people look up to a lot of those, you know, individuals in both of those bands for what, you know, who they are as humans and how they perform on stage and things like that. So hats off to every single one of those guys, being this busy and things like that. I don't know how Ronley finds time for it all, but hats off to him too. He's out there just crushing it, just having a great time. So that's one of the things I'm starting to realize. I never really thought I'd be somebody that got so busy I wouldn't have time to do things, but I'm starting to realize it, and now I'm starting to actually have some empathy for some of these people out there like Ronley, like I said. And there's so many people out there that are so busy, I don't know how they find time for music, but thankfully they do. So hats off to you, Ronley. I really appreciate it. If you guys are looking for any of the links down below for Ronley, I've got them down there. I definitely have Cory Waller and the Wicked Things links down below. If he creates that blues band page, I will have a link for that down below as well. If not, keep an eye out on his pages for shares for that. Otherwise, that will, I'll have to just bring them back again, and we'll have to talk about it again and plug the page. So check out down below for all the links. And even further down below, there are links for Audible Farm stuff. So you can go to audiblefarm.com, find links to all of the social media, things like that. There's also a YouTube channel where there are video clips of the podcast as well as audio versions. There's live videos of some bands that I've captured. There's also some music videos on there. There's some hydro-dipped guitar videos and refinishing videos on there, and just all sorts of goofy stuff, that I've been kind of partaking in the last few years. So head over to the YouTube channel, check it out. Thank you guys very much for subscribing. If you haven't already, consider hitting that subscribe button. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And otherwise, there's all sorts of other stuff down there to check out. There's the Audible Farm shop. You can get t-shirts, no hoodies yet. I'm debating whether or not to make hats this year, so we'll see. I've got some ideas, but we'll see what I end up coming up with in 2022 for new merch. There's always the classic t-shirts available. Those t-shirts are everywhere. There's some of the softest shirts out there, so check them out. And there's also some other goodies online, so check out all the other goodies at the Audible Farm shop. And thank you guys for listening. It's hopefully going to be a good 2022. Hopefully I've got all the time I need to record some episodes. I'm trying my absolute best to go out and record a few early and talk to some people, so hopefully I can get ahead of the curve here before it gets too busy in 2022, and we'll have a nice, productive, fun year, and we'll get to talk to a lot of people. So thank you guys for listening. I really appreciate it. I'm out of here. Peace.